So today I'm going to show you how to create your first individual project on Tableau. So here for the home page on Canvas, you're going to click Assignments and then go down to Individual Project 1. Here you can find the data files and the instructions below. So first you're going to download these two data files. And then before you get started, you're going to want to look at this variable explanation file. So here you can see the explanations for all the variables presented in the data set. Some of them are more self-explanatory, but here you can see that for the numeric variables, the employees that were polled were ranking the levels of inclusion, belonging, uniqueness, and job satisfaction at the company. And then for these last two exit variables, it's still a poll, but they're ranking their agreement with these three statements. So exit one asks if they think or if they often think of leaving the company. Exit two asked if it's very possible that they'll look for a new job next year. And then exit three is if they would choose to work at this company again. So just looking at the variables before you even start, you can start to have an idea of what kind of trends you would see in the data. So it's likely that these two variables would have a negative relationship between high amounts of these variables here. And then for the last one, which states that they would choose to work for the company again, it's likely that it would have a positive relationship with variables like inclusion, belonging, uniqueness, and job satisfaction. So with those in mind, you can then go to Tableau Public and then sign in. And then once you're signed in, you're going to want to go to your profile. And this is where you can start to make your visualization. So you're going to click Create a Viz. And then immediately it's going to ask you to upload that data file. So why people matter, upload. And then it's going to take you to this data source screen. So with this all uploaded and looking fine, you're going to click Sheet 1. And then that's going to take a few seconds to load. So once that's all loaded, you're going to see the variables here that we just saw in the explanation file. And then now that that's all loaded in, you can go to your instructions. So the first instruction states that we're going to check for correlations between the measures and then create a dashboard to visualize them. And then to start this, you're going to click two of the relationships below. So inclusion and job satisfaction, inclusion exit one, inclusion exit two, and inclusion exit three. And then you're going to create a scatter plot for two of these. So starting with inclusion and job satisfaction to create a scatter plot, you're going to use inclusion and drag it to columns, and then job satisfaction and drag it to rows. And then seeing here, there's only one data point here. So you're going to drag inclusion to detail from this box here to here, and then click the down arrow, and then click dimension here. And then if you want, you can change this from a sum to be average. You just click the down arrow here, go to measure, and then change from sum to average for both variables here. And then it'll show the average of both of those and the correlation between them. So now that we have this scatter plot here, we're going to go to our next set of instructions, and it's saying to give it a title that describes the correlation. So here we're going to click sheet 1, double click here, delete this, and then do job satisfaction versus job inclusivity. And that'll create your title for you. After you have your title, you're going to go to your next set of instructions, and that's saying you're going to number your visualizations 1A and 1B. So that's going to be on your sheets. So you're going to double click sheet 1, or you can right click and click rename. And you're going to change that to be 1A for your first. Next, it's saying you're going to create a text object that explains the correlation if you think it exists. So clearly there's a positive correlation between these two variables, which makes sense since higher levels of inclusion would then result in higher job satisfaction. So you're going to explain that in a caption. So you're going to go to a worksheet, show caption, and that's going to create an automated caption of just what the scatter plot's showing. So you're going to delete that. You can move it over to see your graph as you're going. And then you're going to say something along the lines of there is a positive correlation between job inclusivity and job satisfaction. And then you can say jobs that foster an inclusive environment for employees leads to higher job satisfaction. Something along this line or these lines to just explain why you think that higher levels of job satisfaction align with higher levels of inclusivity. So once you're done with this graph, you're going to move on to your next set of instructions. So it's saying you're going to want to show two different relationships out of the ones that are presented here. So next on the list is inclusion and exit one. And as we saw before, exit one stated that I often think of leaving this company. So likely we're going to see a negative relationship between levels of inclusion at a company and the likelihood that someone would agree that they want to leave. But we're going to test that here. So once again, we're going to drag inclusion to columns, exit one to rows, change these to averages by clicking the down arrow, measure, average. Same thing here, down, measure, average. Then you're going to move inclusion to detail, change that to a dimension. And like we expected, there's going to be a negative relationship. So higher levels of inclusion mean it's less likely they're going to want to leave the company. So once again, we're going to right click sheet 2, edit title, job inclusivity versus job or versus likelihood of wanting to leave company. And then we're going to click worksheet, show caption, and then double click. There is a negative correlation between job inclusivity and the likelihood of wanting to switch jobs. Jobs that create inclusive environments are better able to retain employees. Something along those lines to explain the correlation there. And then we're going to rename it to sheet 1B. So once you have these renamed, you'll be done with the first step. Then you're going to go back to your instructions. And then for instruction number 2, it's saying you're going to recreate each of these, but separated by gender. So an easy way to do this is to right click on each of them, duplicate, switch it over here by dragging it, and then rename it to be 2A. Same thing here, right click, duplicate, drag it over, and then 2B. Okay, so to separate these by gender, you're going to take the gender variable, move it over to color. And then here you can see that there's female, male, non-binary, and then prefer not to answer. So if you want to, you can drag gender to filter and then get rid of the ones that are preferring not to answer so you can get a better idea of your data. And then here you can see them segregated by gender. You could do the same thing here, gender, color, gender filter, prefer not to answer. What you can also do when you separate these by color is you can go to gender in the filters, click the down arrow, and then click show filter. And this will allow you to easily swap between what you want to present on your graph. So you can click or non-click and then have an easy visualization to compare the two. You could do the same thing here. Gender, show filter, and then swap between what you want to present. And then also you can add these to a dashboard. So you can drag these over, then easily compare the different variables between gender for the two graphs. And then even though it only asks for two, I can show the other two visualizations. So first it asked for inclusion, exit two, same thing, measure average, inclusion in detail, and dimension. Same thing that we expected. With higher inclusion, people are less likely to think that they will look for a new job in the next year. And then same thing for the last one, inclusion in column, exit three in row, change those to averages, and then move inclusion to detail and change it to a dimension. And then we could see that there's a positive correlation between level of inclusion and then if they would choose to work for the company again, which is what we expected by looking at the variables. So this shows that before you even start working on it, you can get an idea of what you're expecting the visualizations to look like. And then if it departs from that, you can have a better idea of what you want your explanations to be in your captions. So after you're done with all of your visualizations here, you're going to publish your work, give it a name, individual project one, why people matter, show sheets as tabs, publish. It'll take a second to load. Then you're going to exit out. You're going to click this download button here in the corner. And then you can either download it as a PDF or a Tableau workbook. So you're going to pick one of those, download it, current. Then you're going to go to individual project one after that's been downloaded. And then it's not going to show from my side, but there'll be a submit button there for you to submit. So if you're seeing this tutorial and you're thinking that you might not have done this correctly, or you just didn't understand what the visual or the variables were representing in your visualizations, you can always just resubmit with this new information. And then if you're still confused by the assignment or you just want any more clarification, you can always email me or find me at the office hours on Fridays from 1 to 3 at room 2056 at the BIF.